Good afternoon. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Canopy Wake 1 Silver Edition. This watch is available from canopywatchco.com for $799 on pre-order until the 14th of December. So firstly, let's look at the box that the watch comes in, and then I'll talk you through the other items one gets with the piece. So the watch comes in a solid wooden watch box, which is protected by this black cardboard outer box. One removes the lid, pulls down the flap, and inside we have a branded microfiber polishing cloth. I always think it's a nice touch to get a branded microfiber polishing cloth, irrespective of the price point of a piece. So the solid wooden watch box is protected by a foam panel. I'll show you the watch box itself. As you can see, solid wood, piano lacquer finished to a very high standard, nice glossy finish to the piano lacquer, stainless steel hinges to the hinge lid. Nice attention to detail because on the base it's lined with a felt panel, and that means it's not going to slide about on a polished desktop or tabletop, and it's not going to scuff or scratch it. So Canopy deserve full credit for this as a new microbrand, because they could have used the default option of using a plastic or cardboard watch box, but this solid wooden watch box is more aesthetically pleasing. The interior is very nicely finished, stainless steel hinges, and the interior is very well executed. The Wake 1 is a limited edition of 250 pieces, and the one I'm going to be reviewing is number 187 of 250, and the case back is engraved. On their website, canopywatchco.com, you can select the number of your choice from 250 limited edition pieces. The watch sits in the base on a padded pillow cushion, as one would expect, and it's well upholstered with a black vinyl PVC. So I really like the presentation. Immediately one gets the impression the Wake 1 Silver Edition is a high quality piece. So with regards to the specifications of the piece, this is the Canopy Wake 1 Silver Edition. We have a 39mm case diameter. We have a lug-to-lug measurement of 46mm, a thickness of 13mm, and a lug width of 20mm. The bracelet tapers from 20mm at the lugs down to 18mm at the 2-button push clasp. The clasp is signed to a high standard with Canopy and the brand emblem. Beautiful luster to the 316L grade stainless steel, flawless brush satin finishing, and that complements the flawless brush satin finishing to the flanks. Good foam resistance to the 2-button push triggers, nice heavy gauge to the stainless steel clasp, a nice large bevel machined on the edge, which is mirror polished to a very high standard. There are also 2 secondary pushers which operate the ratcheting mechanism. Good length of extension on the solid mill clasp, as you can see, and the ratcheting mechanism works very well. It clicks in with nice positive clicks, deploys very smoothly, and I like that it ratchets in and out. One can deploy it in a smooth action, and then it pushes in with nice positive clicks. So very well indexed, good on the fly adjustment. I'll show you the interior. Solid mill 316L grade stainless steel, no sharp edges, no burrs, doesn't have sharp corners, and the hinge pins are nice and tight. Beautiful luster to the top side, underside and flanks to the brush satin finishing. So this is a very well executed clasp, snap shut with a nice positive click, and I really like these second 2 pushers, which also have a firm resistance for the micro adjustment. At this price point, it's very unusual to see such a high quality clasp at $799, and they deserve full credit for this because it is outstanding. With regards to the rest of the specification, we have a double dome sapphire crystal with clear AR coating on the underside, and the clear anti-reflective coating does an outstanding job of reducing the glare and the highly reflective nature of the double dome sapphire crystal. They've made the correct decision by using a double dome sapphire crystal versus flat, because it does add interest to the piece, and I really like the dome. It's got a nice high profile to it which projects above the forged carbon fibre bezel insert. With regards to the dial layout, it has perfect symmetry, and Canopy deserve credit because they haven't over-branded the dial with unnecessary text or specification. We simply have Canopy's logo at 12, Wake 1 and 20 ATM at the 6 o'clock position. Just the right amount of information. The dial is clean, it's not over-branded, it's not cluttered with unnecessary text. They've done a good job of framing the date complication at 6 o'clock with a white frame around the black date wheel with white Arabic numerals. Legibility is outstanding, and it's a very well executed dial layout. The handset, I really like the shape of it. It reminds me of the Rolex Milgauss reference 1019 from the 1970s. It's got a very similar shape to the Milgauss 1019, including the contrasting red arrowhead tip to the sweeping second hand. So the symmetry of the dial is good, legibility is good, and the applied indices are correctly proportioned, as are the handset. To add interest to the dial, it's got a textured finish versus using a sunburst dial or alternatively black enamel glossy dial, and I think they've made the correct decision by using a textured dial, because its matte finish means that it's not as reflective as a sunburst or glossy enamel black dial, and that enhances the legibility. So the clear AR coating works well, and the matte finish to the textured dial also works well. Now, one of my favourite aspects of the piece, and this is the first time I've seen this on a watch, is the bezel insert. The bezel insert looks like ceramic, but it's actually made from forged carbon fibre, which has a nice marble effect. And the marble effect to the forged carbon fibre is subtle. In some light conditions, it does look like a sapphire or alternatively ceramic bezel insert, but it's actually carbon fibre. And if one looks closely at the forged carbon fibre, one can see the marble effect of the carbon. It's also well executed. They've done a good job of inlaying the Arabic numerals and also the arrowheads at 9, 6 and 3. And we've got a full arrowhead at the 12 o'clock, which works very well. So the legibility of the forged carbon bezel insert is very good. And I think it's just very well executed. They deserve credit as a microband for not just taking the default option of using a ceramic bezel insert and coming up with something different, which is unique to the Wake 1. Another nice attention to detail I like is the crown is also inlaid with forged carbon fibre, and they've also got their silver emblem underneath the domed cap, as you can see, which is very reflective, and it's very unusual to see this kind of attention to detail at this price point within the mid-tier. So with regards to the crown, it's coin edge finished, solid 316L grade stainless steel, and it provides an effective hermetic seal to 200 metres. So let's test the screw down crown execution. Absolutely silky smooth. This is 10 out of 10 screw down crown execution. Perfect interface between the internal thread of the stainless steel crown and the external thread of the stainless steel crown tube. So in the first position, one can manually wind the Sellita caliber SW200-1 automatic to top it up to its maximum 40-hour power reserve. Absolute pleasure to manually wind the SW200-1. Feels nice and smooth. One can feel the tension in the mainspring gradually building up. Pulling it out to the first click position is the quick set date complication. I'm just going to move the minute hand out of the way to show it to you better. So looking at the date complication at 6, the quick set complication works as one would expect. Nice positive clicking to the date complication. It clicks over with each day of the month with a good solid click. So this is a characteristic of the SW200-1. The quick set works very well. The SW200-1 is a clone of the ETA 2824-2. The architecture of both movements is the same. The only discernible difference is the 200-1 has 26 joules versus the 2824-2, which has 25 joules respectively. So date complication is clearly legible. I think more brands should use a black date wheel with white Arabic numerals versus the default option, which is a white date wheel with black Arabic numerals. The legibility is very good and it complements the matte black dial. Pulling it out to the second click position is the time setting position. And it feels silky smooth, no back play clockwise and anti-clockwise. There's no discernible difference. The SW200-1 feels exactly the same as the ETA 2824-2. And I really like the smooth feeling of the gearing, no friction whatsoever, no back play, lighter resistance than other movements such as the NH35A. And I really like the SW200-1. It's a reliable, well-proven workhorse Swiss movement. Now it has hacking, as you can see. If you look at the contrasting arrowhead tip to the second hand, you can see it's now stopped dead. So it's possible to set the time precisely to the second. Pushing it back in's got a nice positive click and that restarts the movement. So let's test screwing it back down. Immediate thread pickup. This is outstanding screw down crown execution, and Canopy deserve full credit for getting the screw down crown execution perfect. The internal thread of the stainless steel crown immediately picks up on the external thread of the stainless steel crown tube, so the interface of the threading is 10 out of 10. Absolute pleasure to manually wind, set the time, set the date, and also screw it back down. 200 meters is good specification. With regards to the bezel, it's solid 316L grade stainless steel, coin edge finished. No sharp teeth to the tips of the coin edge teeth, which is very good, very well machined. Nice crisp finishing to the coin edge teeth. Nice high profile to the coin edge bezel, so it's tactile and easy to grip. Let's test the bezel execution. 120 click unidirectional bezel, as one would expect. Nice firm resistance. In terms of resistance, it feels even all the way through the 360 degrees, which is good. It feels solid. It feels like a Steinhardt Ocean 139, firmer than a Seiko bezel action, more like a Steinhardt Ocean 139, which I like. No lateral side-side play whatsoever. No back play whatsoever. This is a nice tight bezel execution. I like that it's even all the way through the 360 degrees and it feels tight. I like the firm resistance, and it does feel very similar to a Steinhardt Ocean 139. It's got that kind of tight, crisp feeling. Loud audible clicks, and 120 click is the correct decision rather than using 60 clicks. I'm just going to check the alignment. Perfect. The triangle on the carbon fibre bezel insert perfectly aligns with the 12 o'clock triangle index on the dial. So 10 out of 10 bezel execution. Canopy deserve credit for it. No lateral side-side play, no back play, perfect alignment, nice firm resistance. With regards to the case back, it's sapphire crystal glazed, and again, I want to give due credit to Canopy here, because often at this price point, brands will use mineral crystal glazing on the exhibition case back as a cost-cutting measure. They use sapphire crystal on the front, but they use mineral crystal on the exhibition case back. This has sapphire crystal in the exhibition case back as well as on the front. And it's very good because it's more expensive, and of course one doesn't really need sapphire crystal in the exhibition case back. It's not prone to being scuffed and scratched as per the front of the watch. But however, it is nice to see they haven't used any cost-cutting measures. So the screwed down exhibition case back provides an effective hermetic seal to 200 meters. It's low profile. It's got a nice flat profile rather than being a bubble back case back. Brushed satin finish to it around the circumference, very aesthetically pleasing, engraved to high standard with the specification of the piece. And as I've detailed, the Wake one is a limited edition of 250 pieces, and if you look closely you can see this is engraved with 187/250. So it's nice that the watch box has the limited edition number and also the case back. The exhibition caseback does a good job of displaying the movements, which, as I've detailed, is the Sellita caliber SW200-1. Nice black rotor, which is signed with Canopy, and I think it's good attention to detail. Now, this is the standard version of the SW200-1. It's not the Elabor top or chronometer grade, but however, it's nice that they've made the effort of decorating the rotor with Canopy rather than using the standard Sellita rotor. And it's good to have the exhibition case back to see the SW200-1. The male end links are a good tight fit to the head of the piece, no play, and the spring bars are a good tight fit. No sharp edges to the undercut to the flanks to the head of the piece, and it's very well brushed satin finish, so the quality of the finishing to the head of the piece is good. The flanks are mirror polished to a flawless standard, nice large bevel, which marks the transition between the brushed satin finish to the top of the lugs and the flawless mirror polishing to the flanks. Credit where credit's due. This is the kind of case finishing one would expect on a mid-tier piece costing in excess of €3,000, such as the Black Bay Heritage. To get this quality of finishing to the head of the piece at $799 within the mid-tier is exceptional. So the bezel is well finished, the head of the piece is well finished, and the screwed down exhibition caseback is also well finished and glazed with sapphire versus mineral crystal. One of my favourite aspects of the piece is the bracelet, which is like a hexad bracelet. And again, incredible attention to detail, because if you look closely, every single edge of the links is mirror polished. Now this adds significant production cost because they could have just left it brushed satin finish, but they've mirror polished the edges to all of the links in the bracelet. And the quality of the brushed satin finishing is exceptional. Beautiful luster to the brushed satin finishing, and that contrasts with the flawless mirror polishing to the edges of every bracelet link. They've made the correct decision by using screw pins in the bracelet rather than using the cost-cutting measure of push pins, and flawless mirror polishing to the flanks of the bracelet. No sharp edges to the underside of the flanks, and it doesn't pull arm hairs. It articulates very smoothly. No stiff links, so it doesn't kink, but it does feel very smooth, and it doesn't have too much play in the screw pins, so it's a nice tight bracelet. Now, I think they could improve the fit of the end links to the head of the piece if they use female pivoted end links, but however, this is subjective. Some collectors might like the mirror polishing to the end links. The end links are a good tight fit, and they follow the profile to the head of the piece very well. And I really like the mirror polishing on the end link and also the bracelet links. Again, it's the kind of finishing and builds quality to the bracelet one would expect on a high-tier piece, a mid-tier piece costing in excess of €3,000 versus a mid-tier piece costing $799. Very high quality bracelet. Right, so I'll give you a wrist shot and you can see how it fits on my 8-inch wrist. Now, I haven't sized the bracelet, I've simply taken the watch out of the watch box, and I'm pleased to report it easily fits my 8-inch wrist. I can in fact slide an index finger underneath the bracelet and clasp at all times, and of course we do have the additional micro adjustment. And as you can see, I can operate the on-the-fly adjustment from the micro adjustment clasp on wrist. I don't need to remove it. And it's really good that one can deploy the micro adjustment without having to remove the watch from the wrist, and it also pushes back in on the ratcheting mechanism on the wrist. One doesn't need to remove it, as you can see. So this is really good. It's a very low profile micro adjustment clasp, as you can see, and it curves around the wrist very well. This is one of the best clasps I've seen at this price point. Canopy deserve full credit. Very aesthetically pleasing, beautiful luster to it, nicely engraved, and the micro adjustment system is outstanding. So as you can see, fits my wrist perfectly without sizing the bracelet, so this will comfortably fit an 8-inch wrist. The proportions of this Canopy are very good. As you can see, 39mm head of the piece, so it's very similar to a Tudor Black Bay 58 in wrist presence. It's got a short lug-to-lug measurement of 46. Now, as you'll know from my previous reviews, I consider 48mm to be the sweet spot. That is the perfect lug-to-lug measurement. At 46, it's 2mm under that. Now, normally I'd be critical of this, but it does use male end links rather than female pivoted end links, so it really does feel like a 48 lug-to-lug with the longer male end links versus female pivoted end links. For collectors with a smaller wrist of 6 to 7 inches, you'll particularly enjoy the 46mm lug-to-lug measurement. Nice curved undercut to the case. As you can see, it doesn't have the abhorrent gap that so many other brands have underneath the tips of the lugs, despite not having female pivoted end links. The articulation of the bracelet is very good, and it doesn't kink, so the end link in the bracelet pulls down snug to the wrist. So nice wrist presence, 147 grams, which is good. As you'll know from my previous reviews, I consider circa 150 to give a nice feeling of wrist presence and quality on wrist without feeling top heavy and uncomfortable. At 147, it's just below that 150 gram sweet spot. So nice feeling of heft, does feel balanced, it doesn't feel top heavy. They've made the correct decision by using a 20 tapering down to 18 versus the industry standard, which is 20 to 16mm, because it has a nice heavy clasp and it really does need 20 to 18 to balance the thicker clasp because it has the built-in micro adjustment system. Had they used 20 to 16, the bracelet would have looked undersized for the wider clasp with the micro adjustment. So in this case, they have got it correct. I would normally be critical of it not having 20 to 16 taper. On a 39mm head of the piece, that is what one would expect. 20 to 18 actually works very well. Beautiful luster to the bracelet, and I love the way the mirror polished edges to every single one of the links catch the light. Just absolutely gorgeous to look at. The forged carbon fibre bezel insert adds interest with its marble effect, and it also complements the textured finish to the matte black dial. And I really like the handset, as I've detailed. It's like the Milgauss 1019 from the 1970s. And the symmetry, the legibility is good. Clear AL coating on the underside of the double dome sapphire crystal works well. Nice, large, high profile to the coin edge bezel. So fantastic looking piece. Comfort level is good, very comfortable to wear for long periods of time, such as 8 to 12 hours per day. I think they've got the proportions just right. Right, so let's do a Lume test and we'll see how the Lume performs when it's charged up to the absolute maximum. So as always, I'm going to use my 100 UV LED torch to charge it up to the absolute peak. Right, so that's now fully charged, and as you can see, we have a fully lumed forged carbon fibre bezel insert. The hands are fully lumed with C1 Swiss Super Lume Nova, as are the applied indices and also the carbon fibre bezel. Now, as you can see on the hands, it looks like 5 to 6 layers of C1 Super Lume Nova. They're glowing very brightly and they will continue to glow for a good length of time. However, on the forged carbon fibre bezel insert and also the applied indices, the Lume has faded quicker, and this is disappointing. I think that Canopy really needs to improve the quality of the C1 Super Lume Nova in terms of the number of layers, because it clearly looks like 2 to 3 layers have been applied on the carbon fibre bezel insert and also the applied indices, because they're now fading to nothing very quickly. However, on the hands, It's continuing to glow brightly and for a good length of time, which suggests that it's 5 to 6 layers of Swiss C1 Superluminova. C1 has a whiter tone than C3, which is more green, and I think that they should consider upgrading to using C3 Superluminova, alternatively BGW9, which would glow blue, and I think that that would further enhance the piece. So there is room for improvement on the forged carbon fibre bezel insert and also the applied indices. I would like to see 5 to 6 layers of C3 used versus C1, and on the hands it's good, but on the dial and the bezel insert it's disappointing. Right, so let's discuss the movement used. You'll all be familiar with the Sellita SW200-1 automatic. It's a reliable, well-proven workhorse Swiss calibre. It has 26 joules and it runs at 28,800 vibrations per hour and a frequency of 4 Hz. It has hand winding and hacking, which is used for complications, and as I've demonstrated, a quick set date complication, which is useful. 40-hour power reserve is perfectly acceptable. The stated accuracy of the standard grade of SW200-1 is plus or minus 12 seconds per day to plus or minus 30 seconds per day. The standard grade is regulated in 2 positions. So a rather wide accuracy range, plus or minus 12 to plus or minus 30. However, on a positive note, this one is very well regulated, and Canopy deserve full credit because it's running consistently at plus 5 seconds per day, which is actually within COSC chronometer limits of minus 4 to plus 6. So plus 5 from the SW200-1 is excellent accuracy. 40-hour power reserve is very good, and I like the SW200-1. It's a clone of the ETA 2824-2 with an additional joule added. It has 26 joules, but the architecture is the same, and therefore it's a reliable, well-proven workhorse Swiss movement. The correct choice for this piece. So, lastly, I'll summarise the piece. What do I think of it overall? Well, when I'm considering reviewing a watch on my channel, the watch should meet 2 criteria. It should be both excellent quality and excellent value at the respective price point. So this is available on pre-order until the 14th of December, and the price point is $799. Yes, I consider it to be excellent quality, and yes, I consider it to be excellent value at $799. There is only one negative to this watch, and that is the performance of the Lume on the dial and the forged carbon fibre bezel insert. The C1 Swiss Superluminova needs to be upgraded with 5 to 6 layers in order to give it more potency, to make the exciter more visible. But on the handsets, the Lume is very good. That is the only negative, the quality of the C1 Superluminova used on the bezel insert and the dial. The rest of it is loaded with specification. This is the first watch I've seen with a forged carbon fibre bezel insert, and it is finished to perfection. And it's the first watch I've seen with an inlaid crown with a forged carbon fibre insert, as you can see, also finished to perfection. Quality of finishing to the bezel, head of the piece, case back is 10 out of 10. The quality of the bracelet is exceptional. It's absolutely gorgeous. And this micro adjustment clasp is fantastic. There really isn't any room for improvements on it. Nice heavy gauge to it, flawless finishing to it, and the ratcheting mechanism works very well, deploys very smoothly and clicks back together very smoothly. So they deserve credit for some innovation, because this micro adjustment clasp is high quality, the bracelet is high quality, and the use of carbon fibre versus sapphire, alternatively ceramic, is innovative. So, high quality piece. There is only one room for improvement, and that's the Lume on the dial and the insert, but the rest of it is very good. 200 meters, Sellita SW200-1, and sapphire crystal glazing in the case back rather than mineral crystal. So they've made correct decision after correct decision. So excellent quality piece, excellent value. I'm going to highly recommend it to you for consideration. I hope you've enjoyed my review of the Canopy Wake 1 Silver Edition. Please feel free to post your own comments below the video. Thank you very much.